astounded that Hillary Clinton today at a rally said, why in the world would the FBI do this investigation, interfere with the election if they have no evidence? And she knows that's a misstatement. I know she and her staff are very fond of the Fifth Amendment, but they ought to get a refresher on the Fourth Amendment. You know, Chris, you can't get a search warrant without some kind of evidence. And that's what we have here. It's not like
what is the evidence?
Abedin. Well, we don't know. The FBI knows.
You say there's evidence. How do you know there's evidence?
Chris, you can't get a search warrant. Excuse me, you cannot get a search warrant under the Fourth Amendment without showing some kind of evidence that justifies you to get a search warrant. Everybody knows that. If the Clinton people really want to know, if they claim they want to know, then ask Comey to reveal the moving affidavit. Ask him to reveal the search warrant.
But the investigation of Hillary Clinton's possible misuse of or mishandling of classified information is an ongoing investigation. Isn't that investigation got authority to continue and to get the necessary warrants to complete it? Why would it have to show criminal information since the investigation has never really been called off? It's continuing. Why would it need evidence of criminality to continue? That's what I don't get. It isn't a brand new investigation. It's an ongoing investigation. Why would it require evidence or probable cause of criminality at this point to proceed?
To retrieve somebody's laptop who actually violated the law and failed to turn it over? Pardon?
They have the laptop. They've been investigating with regard to the sexting alleged sexting by the former congressman. But they have now got the additional warrant to show it. I don't think that requires evidence or probable cause of criminality because it's an ongoing investigation.
And Chris, I don't think anybody...
That's what I think is a good point. Do you have a response to that?
Yeah, no, well, my point's good, too, that you wouldn't, under the Fourth Amendment, be able to get all these search warrants without further evidence. I read the same reports you read, and the reports I read over the weekend claimed that when perhaps FBI agents started reading through these emails, closed them up, and said there's something there. That, or I guess people who were investigating Anthony Weiner's pedophilia closed it up and said there's something there. But listen, to the electorate, it doesn't matter, and you know it. Those undecided voters are decided about one big thing. They don't want to vote for Hillary Clinton. If they did, they would take the person they've known for decades and say, I think your experience is the right kind of experience. I think you represent the right kind of change. I can look past your serial lying of many decades. And you know darn well they're hesitant and reluctant to vote for her. This is going to hurt her in the polls continually. We're within 1 point in the ABC Washington Post poll. We were 12 points down last week. The statewide polls are tightening. We're going to win your home state of Pennsylvania.
Okay, well, if you do, you might win the presidential election. I agree with that. That's a big F. Let me ask you about this egregious. I've been watching the candidate, Mr. Trump, on this. He's not just saying some evidence to justify investigation or probable cause. He's accusing her of egregious criminal behavior. His charges are almost, he said it's worse than Watergate. It sounds like it's impeachable already. What evidence does he have that she's committed crimes that are impeachable already before she's even elected, if she's elected? What's impeachable that she's done?
He didn't say she was impeachable.
He said it's worse than Watergate. He said it's worse than Watergate.
Perhaps it is. We don't know that yet, but we know that the cloud of corruption follows the Clintons. Well, you know what, Chris? He's not under investigation, let alone two of them by the FBI in the same year. So let's keep our eye on the ball here. Who the heck is under FBI investigation?
Charges are not
hold on. Why are we having this conversation in the first place? Chris, why are we having this conversation in the first place?
Because the FBI has issued a report that it's continuing an investigation. Yes, go ahead.
No, this is her fault. She set up a homebrewed private server that she was not allowed to have. She was lying from the beginning about it. She did it to hide emails. She bleach-bitted 33,000 emails to hope that they would be permanently deleted. 17,000 others never got turned over. I mean, come on. This woman lies about lying, and now we have another investigation to see if her lying about lying perhaps is on somebody else's laptop in an unrelated investigation, because her closest advisor, the woman she calls her surrogate daughter, for God's sake, is married to a guy who's sexting pictures of his private parts to a 15-year-old girl in North Carolina.
You're not blaming Huma for that, please. How can you blame the two women for the behavior of the men, or the male in this case?
Chris, I didn't blame them. Hold on, and you know it. I didn't blame them for the behavior of their husbands. In this case, I'm telling you why we're having this conversation. You're saying it's because of Donald Trump. I'm telling you Donald Trump didn't text pictures of himself, didn't set up a private server as a Secretary of State. He didn't break with protocol. He didn't use the State Department as a concierge for foreign donations. I mean, this is all on her. Okay, let me ask you, before we toilet paper both houses completely, and you're doing a great job of it, Kellyanne, let me ask you about Paul Manafort. NBC is reporting tonight, NBC News is reporting tonight that the FBI has begun what they call a preliminary
preliminary inquiry, not a full-scale criminal investigation of Paul Manafort's relations with foreign interests. Your thoughts? Does it affect? Is this the reason he left the campaign? How's that for a hard question?
No, well, no. Mr. Manafort and the campaign severed ties in August, and I saw that same NBC News report that you're speaking of, and I saw Paul Manafort quoted in there. He said there is no investigation that he knows of, and he thinks it's a complete distraction.
Okay, thank you. Kellyanne, you're always welcome on this show. Your candidate is especially welcome. You can bring him along next time. We'll talk later on the phone, as always. Thank you, Kellyanne Conway.